we need, yeah. Man, I got it, wow.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Box Seats. This is the show where we talk about sports with comedians. Let's get ready to get the show started. As we wait for the comedians, my man, filmmaker Jason Hayes in the building. Jay, how you doing, sir?
Hey, what up, Frank? It's all good, brother.
And great to see Amir Sealy is back to join us. Amir, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, what's up, Amir? No bean pies today, though, dog. Damn. He's selling donuts today.
Hey, he making that money. He making that
selling
money.
Xerox machines.
Yeah, he making that money. So while we wait for everybody to join the show, man, let me first talk about something that I absolutely thought was very interesting. Jay, I'm gonna let you go first, man. We got to talk about the other night. We discussed that Venezuela was going to play the United States and the World Baseball Classic. I ended up watching the game. Jay, I thought it was an excellent game. I thought it, even though the United States didn't win, I thought it was huge for Venezuela. I mean, I love the fact that they did win. I love the fact that they were able to just be able to come together as a team and be able to dethrone the mighty USA. Not to say that I don't love my country, because that's not it. I just love the fact about what Venezuela was able to do. That's what I love. Jay, did you happen to see the game? And if so, or if not, what you think about Venezuela defeating the United States in a truly dramatic fashion, Jay?
I did not see the game, and I can tell you what happened.
The fingers?
United States got them silly fingers on it, baby.
Yeah, they do.
Until we start doing right by other people, man, we ain't nothing we touch gonna go right, bro.
Yeah, I ain't even mad at that. That's one thing I can honestly say. Amir, what's your take on this Venezuela defeating USA?
It's so funny. I did not watch the game, but I will say this. First and foremost, I like to believe that baseball hasn't been America's sport for at least the last 20 or so years.
Okay.
When you start looking at the body of work of, some of the other countries who have now, started to participate in a sport that supposedly has been American for as long as we've, supposedly been in existence, you realize not only has the sport grown, but to your point, the players and the people's influence from those players, Venezuela, right, Japan, Dominican Republic. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And the cool thing about any and all of it is just that we've gotten away from, everything for us is always we're the best just because we say we are. We are no longer doing the work that we used to do to actually prove it. And
right, now
it's starting to show up in these spaces.
Right. But let's move on.
Frank, I will say very quickly though, I think that there's a resurgence of American kids playing baseball now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily true of my generation for sure.
Right.
In terms of black kids specifically.
Right.
Because like two of my daughter's really good friends growing up. I mean, these are private school kids from New York City. One is on the roster of the Pittsburgh Pirates right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, his whole life, all he ever wanted to do, was be a baseball player. And another kid is playing for the Mets. He's a pitcher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and that's because their fathers wouldn't let them go to the football field.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to see sort of a slight resurgence, a lot of kids playing baseball or basketball because their parents are not letting them go to the football field to deal with CTE.
Yeah, I get that. But let's talk about the other thing that's popping off before we get to the Cade Cunningham story, which is huge. Let's talk about the NCAA tournament, gentlemen, because there was a scare today that I thought we were going to be talking about, right about now, but it looked like Duke was able to get this. Duke was playing Siena. Number 1 Duke was playing number 16 Siena. And up until a few seconds ago, actually about 2 or 3 minutes ago, Jay, Duke was losing this game. They ended up coming back. I think they won the game now because, obviously the game was ending while we was doing the show. Not sure.
Yeah, they pulled it out.
Okay. So with that being said, the way Duke played, Jay, I got to say, I'd be very concerned if I'm a Duke fan moving forward, because to be scared like this with Siena literally laid out the blueprint on how to beat Duke on national television. You know what I mean? And I saw that game. I watched almost all of it up until we obviously got on. So, Jay, what's your take on Duke being, getting this very, very close call by number 16 Siena? And do you believe that they'll be able to get to the Final Four? Jay, what's your take?
Amir, you don't know this, man, but I am a rabid Duke hater. You know, you ain't been on the show, and I spell Duke. How I spell Duke, Frank?
D-O-O-K. Duke. O-O-K.
I spell them Duke. Okay?
As a Dookie.
The hate runs deep with this one. It is D-O-O-K for me.
Mm-hmm.
And man, understand how elated I was to see Siena, but I knew they weren't going to pull it off, man, because the talent was going to overwhelm them.
Right.
But this is where the tournament gets really interesting. It's always interesting because basketball is a game. It's the same 94 feet.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same, same 10-foot rims, and styles make fights. Now, Duke is a very talented team with a lot of young prospects. These dudes are 18, 19 years old, most of their roster, because they're one and done, 2 and out or something like that. And they run into a team like Siena, where they got dudes who probably 24, 25, 26 years old who just know how to play basketball. And it can get really dangerous. And a lot of these dudes be getting knocked off because they're young and talented, but they ain't got that basketball savvy yet. And they run into a team that ain't scared of them at all. They can get knocked.
Yeah. I honestly believe that their next game might realistically be their last game. But I don't want to speak ahead of turn. Let me see what you got to say, Amir. What's your thoughts on Duke being scared like this? And right now, as the tournament starts, they almost was about to be the one Amir to be upset as soon as the tournament started. You know what I mean? What's your take, Amir?
Well, you know what? First off, I echo Jay's sentiments. I haven't liked Duke since the days of my brother playing for St. John's. But to get back to the current format of where Duke is, first and foremost, let's start by saying the NCAA tournament to me is the only real legitimate thing to watch. I don't think the Super Bowl is legit. I don't think the NBA Finals is legit. I don't think the World Series is legit, but the NCAA tournament is. And the reason why I feel like it is because, to a point that Jay just made, first and foremost, you were talking about kids or young men who actually either understand the game and are playing as such, or kids who are just playing off adrenaline and the excitement of this possibly being the only moment that they ever shine. Mm-hmm. We have seen, multiple stories of, cats that have gotten together 30 years later because they've had this one shining moment, as they always play at the end of the tournament. Right. But for a team like Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, any of these schools, we have been so in love with the programs and, all of these years, but they're not the same anymore. First of all, they don't have the coaching that they once had, which means they don't have the discipline and all the other things that go along. And then again, to what Jay said, you're talking about youth, 1 and done or 2 and done. So I'm already thinking about draft day. I'm already thinking about the next situation. I'm thinking about my brand. So a lot of what we're seeing has more to do with the fact that the game isn't being respected as it could and as it should. Mm-hmm. And Duke, like any other team, on any given day, you can get it. And that's why I love the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, you definitely can.
That's what makes it beautiful, man. That's why I love the NCAA tournament. You can get got.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta agree with you. I love it mostly because not only can you get got, a couple of y'all can get got on the same weekend. You know what I mean? On the same weekend. So that's why I like it, man. And I also like it for one other reason too. It's probably more so than any other sport that the true talent will rise. You know what I mean? Like overall as a team, your true talent as a team will rise. You know what I mean? That's what I like about it because, if whoever's good, if this one team has one good player, that's fine. But if you have 5 players who are okay and they're working cohesively, man, I love it, man.
Yeah. But like reporters, I think oftentimes they write about the wrong stuff to me. Like they write in a tried and true template of what reporters always write about sports to me. Right. But also I think it's indicative of like there are people who didn't play the sport. Too many reporters are not people who actually played the sport, even made a team in their life. So because if you played the sport at a high level, like let's say if me, at a Division II school, I go play against Division I dudes that you heard about. If I can play, I can play. Right. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter because the game is the same. If you work on your game, you play with confidence. The only difference that I see between like a lot of like lower level schools and bigger schools is size. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You know, they gonna have a bunch of dudes, 6'6" and up. You know, whereas a smaller school probably gonna have dudes, probably 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet or something like that playing. But that don't mean they can't play. You can get this work.
Yeah.
And the difference is not that big in terms of talent.
Right.
It is not what reporters make you think. They make you think these dudes are all world, and I'm telling you, it's so many dudes out here, man, that they can take them out. I'm telling you.
Well, let's also be real too, Jay. If you're in a D2 school, politics probably made you land at a D2 school too. You know what I mean? You could possibly be at a D1 school too. So we need to get rid of the classifications like that, especially with the sports writers saying, well, he's a D2 player. And, that don't mean nothing to me. It don't mean nothing. This kid could have been, he could have got arrested or something. Like something could have got him landed into D2, but he could have D1 skills. You never know.
You could be a late bloomer too.
Yeah,
right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like they miss on people all the time.
Yeah,
like my cousin, for instance, right? My cousin is from this small town in Mississippi, like 5,000 people. He got invited to play in this tournament, and there was this dude that everybody heard about, and that coaches and scouts was there, to come and scout. Well, he played against my cousin, who ain't nobody heard about because he playing at this little bitty school in the middle of nowhere. My cousin averaged 38 in the tournament against the dude that he was better than the dude that they came to see because Gene Herrick was a head coach at the University of Georgia back then. He came to recruit the other dude. He tried to sign my cousin. Yeah. And the only reason my cousin didn't go to UGA was because Gene Herrick got fired and Tubby Smith didn't know who he was. So he wound up going to Southern University, 4-year starter. He's a head basketball coach in high school right now. I'm just saying, you don't know who's good and who's not. You just know who they're talking about.
Yeah, that's how it usually goes. It's definitely how it goes. All right, so let's move on to the other big topic, Jay. We got to talk about this. I was trying to wait till my man came in, but he's suffering, so he probably is going to listen. But
D. Jones, man, he going to duck us today, man.
D. Jones is suffering today.
He's probably at the hospital right now. Watching, seeing what's going on.
Yeah, he's doing that. But Detroit Pistons star Cade Cunningham got diagnosed with a collapsed lung. The news came out of nowhere. Like I didn't expect to see this at all. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not like he got injured on the court and everything else. We saw this and everything else. I got to say, Jay, this is one of the most shocking news things that I've seen, and I got to say too, it's extremely bad because it happens at the wrong time. It's March. We were 15 games away from getting ready to go into the NBA playoffs. So let me ask you a couple of questions, Jay. First question is, how do you think Cade is going to be? You know what I mean? Like, what's the level of seriousness you think is going to be? And do you think this is going to affect their seeding as it comes down to, obviously going into the playoffs?
I mean, you don't know, man. I mean, a collapsed lung sounds like something that's pretty serious, but at the same time, I don't think it's as serious as like most other things can be. Most people seem to recover from it pretty quickly. But the only instances that I've heard of players getting collapsed lungs, recently has been like them getting some kind of injection.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They get some kind of injection, for pain, and the trainer or the doctor misses and hits the lung and causes that. So I've been trying to find out how he got it. Nobody's saying how it happened.
Right.
Did he fall? Was it a fight? Was it whatever? So if they ain't saying nothing, it makes it seem like, it might be what happened. Who was the quarterback who was getting injected and they collapsed his lung last season in the NFL? I'm forgetting who it was.
That's the backup QB, the black dude, the black QB. Oh my goodness.
Tyrod Taylor.
There you go. Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor. He was getting an injection. They collapsed his lung. I would bet good money that's how TJ Watt lung got collapsed. You know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering, if Cade was getting some kind of, injection, for pain, and they collapsed his lung. So hopefully, he'll be back, man. Basketball is tricky, bro, because conditioning is everything. Yeah. Like if you miss a week, let alone 2-3 weeks to come back, have to get back to pace, man. That's tough, man.
Okay, so now the other question I asked you was what you think about their seeding and will their seeding be affected as we move into the playoffs?
It might, man, because Boston's hot right now. Boston's hot. Cleveland ain't going nowhere. I mean, it seemed like they figuring out how to play with each other. So, I mean, they might find themselves sitting in like a 3-4 seed. It's possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. So let me ask you, Amir. I mean, Amir, you obviously know this from a different perspective of having your brother being in the pros and you being around doctors and being around doctors and all that stuff. You have a different perspective of it. So let me ask you, Amir, what's your take on this Cade Cunningham collapsed lung situation? And do you think it's going to affect the Detroit Pistons seeding as we move forward?
Well, first and foremost, obviously we hope that that young man has a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the
Right.
first thing. But after we get past that, there's what I'm always curious about is there's always two sides to everything.
Mhm.
Again, Jay brings up a great point about it, possibly having been something that happened, because of something else. But for all we know, this could have been a situation that Cade has been dealing with his entire life, and it just was never diagnosed properly, or
Mhm.
it's been hidden.
Mhm.
I was just watching a clip earlier today, and it was talking about Grant Hill and how unfortunately he misdiagnosed his ankle. Then he had to have all those surgeries, and he obviously never elevated to the space in which we thought he could elevate to. And, as I said the other day, that's the problem with sports in general. Yes, we are excited and elated about these players and what they bring to our teams and bring to the sport. But sometimes a lot of these young men may or may not, and women may or may not be in the shape that we think they're in. And there is just the possibility that, unfortunately, this isn't their time to shine. They may have to find something else. Again, I'm not wishing that on that young man. I'm hoping, again, like I said, he has a speedy recovery. So I always just wonder, because usually when they give us one diagnosis that they're pushing in, or a narrative that they're pushing in the media, is usually something else totally different behind the scenes. I don't have any inside information on that, so I can't, say anything or speculate, in this particular young man's case. But I will say this, as far as seeding goes, again, which was the second part of your question, this is a big blow for that team and for that organization. So it really now boils down to whether or not his team members can rally around this unfortunate circumstance and elevate their games so that they can, make up for what he's, bringing to the team and bringing to the table.
Right.
Only time will tell what that actually looks like and what that works out to be. But again, the first thing is, just hoping that this situation isn't more serious than they said it was, and that this young man has a speedy recovery is, the main thing. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is they got, Detroit Pistons, Jay, got beat a couple weeks ago by Washington. They faced Washington tonight. You know what I mean? And then the crazy part about this is their schedule with Cade seemed like, it's no big deal that, but now they got to play the Warriors. The Warriors were hot until they ran to the Celtics. And then they got to face the Lakers, and the Lakers are on a 7-game winning streak. So that's their next 3 games. You know what I mean? Right now. So you got Washington and obviously doing what they're doing. You got Golden State. Golden State, they play rough. You know what I mean? They put their work in. And then you got the Lakers. That's 3 games that could be 3 L's. That's why I wanted to figure out like where this is. But Jay, I'm sitting here trying to figure this out, Jay. You know what I mean? What you get you get one of the last words, and Amir get one last word about the schedule, the way it's looking out as it unfolds.
I mean, I think all those games are winnable for them. Washington sucks. Let's just call it what it is. And when they beat them, it just happens sometimes, man. Basketball is trick. Like I said, you just have some games where you can't make layups. Like, I don't care what you do, nothing's going to go right for you. And it feels like it was just one of those times, but also it could be hubris. Like they forget that them mans get paid too. They professional athletes too. So you better come ready to play, or you can get your head kicked in. So I think they'll be focused, definitely to win every game. I think all but the Lakers game is like almost like a dub for them, to be honest. Just overall talent wise. And the Lakers, I think, are ripe to be beaten by them too, because they can't defend anybody.
That's right. Amir, you get the last word on this topic. What's your take?
Well, I think that, again, yes, all those games are winnable, but, we're talking about other teams that also, they're playing for their pride. The Lakers are playing for their pride right now. The Golden State Warriors are playing for their pride. The Wizards, like you said, they may or may not be playing for their pride. Might be playing for a lottery pick at this point. But the point is, when they lace up and those lights go on and that the tip off happens, it's anybody's situation. Just depends on who wants it more. And that's why I said it's really going to boil down to, can those guys in that locker room come together and say, look, we don't have this young man right now, but we got to, pull together as a team and do what we need to do to win.
All right. Sticking with the NBA, Jay, I saw another news item that kind of jumped off, the paper to me. Giannis Antetokounmpo wants to play. He wants to play, but the Milwaukee Bucks want to shut him down. Now, I'm going to say for the record, I think him wanting to play right now is really the wrong decision for him. I think he should sit back, relax, and get himself completely healthy. He's causing turmoil with the Milwaukee Bucks, but he wants to play. What's your take on this, Jay, with him? He might even use this as an excuse to force his way out, too. You know what I mean? That Giannis is doing. What's your take on this, Jay? What you think?
I had to pull it up real quick because I wanted to see. Milwaukee is currently 11th in the East.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why you want to come back, because you're not going to make the playoffs, man.
Hell, you're
just not.
Play in. Yeah, you ain't gonna make.
And even if you make the play in, you're probably not going to win that, right? And and should you win that, that means you probably going to be playing the number 1 seed, whoever that is, which means you definitely not going to win that one, right? So what are we playing for? So if it were me, I'm putting this in the universe, I would have Penny Hardaway and Grant Hill give him a call and say, listen, brother, 1, you ain't got nothing to play for, but 2, you need to not play until you are healthy. Penny Hardaway said himself that had he just rested, like had he not come back as soon as he did to play the way he did, like had he just taken the rest of the season off, his career is completely different. But he messed it up so bad that it could never get repaired after that. Same thing with Grant Hill with the ankle. So let's let these dudes, man, who had their careers really ruined by coming back too soon, and they had something to play for. Dude, you're not going anywhere. Just sit back, take your money, and wait for your trade to happen next year.
Yeah, wait till you put on that Knicks uniform, because at the end of the day, like you're hurting your chances and you're hurting your draft ability. Your draft. What's the word?
Your trade value.
Your trade value. You're hurting your trade value. Amir, if you are the Milwaukee Bucks and he's not listening, what recourse can you say to help him listen? What can you do to help him listen?
It's so funny. Again, it's amazing how in this day and age we have these catch-22s, and by that I simply mean this. For those of us who have been diehard fans of the elder years of what basketball has look like, this is what players used to do. In some cases,
right.
They used to play hurt, they used to play through pain, so forth and so on. Granted, like you said, they're at 11 or whatever. Maybe in his heart of all hearts, he doesn't want to go out with the ideology or the energy of saying, I didn't give it everything I could personally to see what, could happen. So let's give him that. With that having been said, I agree. He should rest, though. He should allow himself to totally heal up and to come back as his, with his God-given ability as a fully healed, young man or fully healed player. The problem is, in this day and age, and because of social media, we have what we have, which is these guys trying to, play both sides or at least quell both sides. So if I sit out, I'm selfish and this and that and the third. But if I play, I'm hurting everything that I've built to this point. So he's almost in a non-winning situation to speak of. But the reality of it all is it has to boil down to him and him saying to himself, again, what's the long-term effect of this?
Right.
Is this, is this immediacy something that I really need to, have on my resume and so forth and so on? Or do I need to think about how much longer, one, I'm going to play, and then 2, what does that look like? Because as you both, shared, Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, Roy, what was the Roy Jones?
Brandon Roy.
Brandon Roy. I mean, the list goes on and on for gentlemen who we've seen seemingly have, what appears to be a simple situation, but because they didn't allow themselves to heal up, it's turned into something far worse. So I would suggest to him that he, sit the rest of the season out. But again, it could be his pride on the line at this point for his, from his own standpoint, having nothing to do with the team, having nothing to do with the players, just, how he feels about the game and what he wants to do.
Well, then,
hey, Frank, real quick. Not only are they in the 11th spot, the 10th spot is 7 games ahead of them. They're 7 games behind Charlotte. So I don't understand what you're doing. You're 7 games behind 10th. What are you coming back to do?
Yeah.
So, Jay, let me piggyback off of that because before I wrap this up, I'm going to even ask Amir this too. Before I wrap this up, how this thing plays out, does this affect Doc Rivers?
Listen, I don't know. Listen, I think Doc got some Diddy tapes on the NBA. I can't justify Doc having a job anywhere right now. Like, I think the average fan would be upset if they saw Doc bagging up popcorn in the arena. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how terrible he's been as a head coach. Like in recent years, I mean, think about like his last 3 stops. They did nothing. Clippers did nothing. Philly did nothing. And he Milwaukee, they ain't doing nothing. So, I don't know why they brought Doc in. Maybe they just like the name. I don't know, man. But they have not done anything since he's been there. And Giannis sitting out or playing doesn't affect Doc one way or the other because I think Doc should be out of there.
I think this is what I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I think the minute Tom Thibodeau left, Doc's career went south. That's what I think. You know what I mean? I think Tom Thibodeau might have been the genius behind when Doc was winning. You know what I mean? That little bit of
defense for sure.
Yeah. So I would ask you, Amir, the same question. Like, what's your take on this Doc Rivers situation? And do you think, because Doc Rivers, according to reports, is riding the fence on this. He won't say one way or the other of what Giannis should do.
Well, again, Doc Rivers, old school. See, again, one of the caveats to all of this is Doc Rivers comes from, the era and the era of physicality. Remember, we're playing in this new era where, dudes is able to, skate by and do all kind of fun stuff. Doc's from the era of physicality. So in his heart and his mind, there's probably that, sitting there somewhere going, well, why aren't you playing? Well, I mean, like you said, yeah, we're not going to, maybe make the playoffs or whatever the case may be, but I come from an era where we played, hurt or not. The other part of it, and this is, just my take on this, you're right. Doc Rivers probably hasn't done anything with his last few stops. But you know what? I don't know if you remember in the 90s, we had several coaches in the 90s who were doing the same thing that didn't look like us. Mike Fratello was going from the situation.
Yeah.
This coach, and, again, I'm not taking anything away from these coaches. I'm just saying, unfortunately, that's part of the mystique here. We are now in an era where we have these black coaches. And I think there are some other black coaches who probably deserve, more of an opportunity? No question. But names always kind of mean something. And Doc Rivers does have championship pedigree, good, bad, and indifferent, based off of one of his stops. So they're always going to nod towards that versus somebody who may or may not have, championship pedigree and all the things that go along with it. So do I think Doc should, probably ride off into the sunset? No question. Or be doing commentating like, some of the other former coaches are doing? Yes. But Doc still thinks, for whatever reason, he may have something to contribute to the game in his heart and his mind. So you got to, make leeway for that.
I need Doc missing Gatorade, Amir. That's all I need him to do.
That means Damian Jones has joined the building, joined us, man. He's in the building. D. Jones, how you doing, sir? What's happening?
I'm only in for a minute. I was listening. I was not in the hospital. I was listening. Okay.
We just wanted to make sure, bro.
Frank, you're not in the weight room?
Listen, we had a prayer visual. We held a Detroit was praying. We had a whole prayer circle. Okay. Frank, I seen you holding back your grin. When you read the report, you was like, "Oh, the Celtics gonna be first place." No,
I wasn't
not gonna happen. Okay.
Listen, D. I don't want to win like that. I want your best players available. I want to win because y'all gotta. I don't want to win like that. Nah, I don't want that.
Hey, no, you think I don't want Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to get hurt? You think if God could bless me like that? That's
Damn,
a
D.
blessing. So,
All right.
real quick, I heard what Jay said, and that make more sense to me. He was having back spasms, and he probably was getting an injection to relieve the back spasms, and they probably poked him the wrong way. Pause.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what happened. I still
believe
think
that.
we got some difficult games coming up. Not a murderer's row of games, but we got some difficult games coming up. You said we lost to Washington a month ago. We beat Washington 2 days ago, and Cade got hurt in the first quarter. We beat them by 25. So I'm not worried. JD about to step up. Coaching's gonna be a big deal, big issue. Pistons still gonna be okay. First or second seed. Punctured lung, Atari gun, or Shinobi 1. Pistons is 6.
All right, D. Are they saying in Detroit what's the timetable or when he gonna come back? Because they ain't saying it nationally. I can't find that.
Saying it's mild. They saying it's a mild puncture. I don't know.
How was it mildly punctured?
They said it's a mild puncture. They said they evaluated in 2 weeks. They saying that CJ McCullough came back within 2 weeks. The first time it happened to him, and it's happened twice to him. So they said CJ,
Pokes. Pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said they said the first time CJ missed 2 weeks and he came back. And so they not thinking it's severe. That's really like somebody stabbing you. This is
right.
You know, he probably, I don't know, man. But listen, prayers up. I want everybody to pray for Cade and the Pistons to win the championship. And I appreciate you guys. I gotta go.
All right.
313.
313, baby. Good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you as well.
All right, I'll see y'all. I'll be listening.
All right, we're gonna keep you in the tune. All right, let's keep this thing moving, man. D Jones can't stand for the whole show, but that's cool. Let's keep this whole thing moving, man. So let me just say this right now. Then we're hoping the best for Cade because we want the best of the face the best. We don't want
question.
We want that's what we want. We want the best to face the best. I can't stand injuries like that.
No asterisks, baby. No asterisks
at all, because nobody will count you, and people will always throw that up in your face if you win. You know what I mean? That's what I don't want that. All right, so let me talk about the next thing, man. The next topic I got to talk about it's this LeBron James situation. I don't know if you guys heard about this or not, but LeBron James, according to him when he was being interviewed, he is not trying to be part of the ownership group for the potential NBA expansion franchise in Las Vegas. He said, quote unquote, no, I'm not interested after the game last night, which we're going to talk about also. He said, I'm not interested, not at all. It's a possibility that James could publicly entertain multiple sources, and he basically did entertain this a couple of weeks ago. In 2022, he said on a digital show called The Shop, he said, I want a team in Vegas. I want the team in Vegas. Now he's saying he doesn't. Jay, before we talk about the game, because we're going to talk about the game, where are you at with this thought process that LeBron James has now come out officially after he was asked after the game last night that he doesn't want to be part of the ownership group in Las Vegas for the Las Vegas expansion team? And why? Because I have my own idea of why I think he's saying what he's saying. But what's your take, Jay?
I pay attention, man, to what people say.
Yeah.
He didn't say I don't have any interest in ownership at all. He said I have no interest in Vegas. Well, maybe he want to be in Seattle. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe he'll say, well, I wasn't interested then. But you know what? Somebody proposed something to me, and now I'm interested. It piqued my interest, 6 months later. So we know his goal is to be an NBA owner. And honestly, this might be his best shot at it, unless he's privy to information that we don't know about, which he could be, where they're going to expand by 2 more teams, pretty quickly. And which may be one of the teams that he's going to do a bid with or whatever, but I mean, it's a lot of money, man. I mean, what they say that the buy-in is like $7 billion minimum, right?
Yep.
So that's a lot of money you got to organize, to own a team. So maybe he's not interested because he doesn't have the ownership group together and the dollars or whatever. But I think he's interested, but maybe just not Vegas.
Before I throw it to Amir, this is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna tell you what I think. You know what I mean? Because what Jay said makes a lot of sense. But Amir, this is what I think. I think him and Rich Paul are more interested in launching that league, that overseas league, overall, all those teams, and then having that be the parallel team to be a parallel league to play against the NBA teams. And I think he's looking at the overall picture because they won't allow him to have that league, ownership of that league and ownership of an NBA team. They won't allow him to do both. That's my take. I mean, I could be wrong. You know what I mean? We never know because obviously these guys are privy to more. But that's my take. You heard Jay's take. Amir, what's your take?
Wow. First off, to be honest with you, I think he is interested in the team in Vegas if he's going to do an NBA team. Vegas, I was living out there. Vegas is one of those cities that's up and coming. Generally speaking, the WNBA team is 4-time champs, 3-time champs in the last 5 years. The hockey team, I think, is won once or twice in the last 2 or 4 years. They bought NASCAR there. It's so much stuff coming to that city, and obviously the people who gamble and everything else that goes along there. So it's getting ready to be super lit in Vegas with all of these things happening. My personal belief with LeBron James is he is in that inner circle, that you guys are speaking of, but there's rules and regulations and things that go along with that.
Right.
And I think he's trying to weigh the options of what that looks like specifically for him and his family. I'm not going to get deeper into it than that. I will, leave it at that because I do think that there are other things going on behind the scenes. There's something you said, Frank, that they can't, it won't come to the forefront until it comes to the forefront. We have, in the last few years, especially where sports is concerned and entertainment for that matter, seen some interesting things that have transpired. And then all of a sudden, this person or that person is that person. And you're like, wait a minute. That's interesting. That's all I can say about that, because I do feel that those things are always at play when we see a lot of these things starting to come to fruition. I think that LeBron, from a business standpoint, and obviously with all that he's done, in and including still probably not even having spent the Nike money that he got when he was 18.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? He his business acumen, and his guy Rich Paul, who obviously has tremendous big business acumen as well,
and Maverick Carter,
just making those kinds of solid moves that hopefully will not put that man in any kind of jeopardy once his playing days are over.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a big thing to really focus on, especially when we know and have seen, so many players 5 years after they're no longer in the league or whatever, they're just flat broken and miserable. So I do think that there is interest there. I just think that he's got to weigh out all of the real options of what that looks like. I said, again, for him and his family.
Right.
So that's, concern.
But Frank, there's a lot of credence, to what you said, though. LeBron has shown himself to be a person who wants to get on the ground floor of something up and coming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because, I remember I never heard of Blaze Pizza ever.
Right.
And he took, the buy-in with them versus taking an endorsement deal, for like, I don't know, Pizza Hut or someplace like that, because Blaze gave him part of the company. And now he's made tens of millions of dollars off of Blaze Pizza, something that I still ain't seen a Blaze Pizza shop ever.
And or tasted it.
There's 5 of them in Boston. There's 5 of them in Boston, and 2 of them around in Fenway Park. So they're out there. They out there, bro.
Well, listen, there are none in New York City. I can attest to that, right? And if they are, man, they're upstate somewhere. Where they have good pizza already. But that's what he does. So what you're saying, if that's a thing that's in the works, I can see him choosing that over having to be a partner with a bunch of other people with a $7 billion buy-in. Whereas, he could probably put in, I don't know, 800 million, raise that up and start a whole league and own the whole damn league.
Well, I read in Fortune, this is crazy. I read in Fortune a couple of months ago, and if you guys want to look it up, you can. If LeBron gets this league started, they're estimating within 2 to 3 years, this league will be worth $50 billion. You know what I mean? Because of all the teams they get putting it together. You know what I mean?
And the best players come from Europe anyway.
Well,
exactly.
This the only thing, again, I will say, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. if you think Adam Silver and all of those wonderful billionaires who are here, are going to allow that. You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
That's really where that's why I said he's got to look at this honestly and, see where this, how this thing plays out.
But Amir, let me just interrupt you and say that I think you're 100% right with that. But I think they know that. And I also think that they're going to try to structure it whereas the NBA is getting some revenue from TV revenue. That's why I think it will go through, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Now that again makes sense. But fortunately, unfortunately, and we've seen this time and time again, they always want the lion's share.
Correct.
You know what I mean? They always want the lion's share. And again, I'm not, pointing fingers at anybody or anything in particular. I'm just saying based off of what we've seen in our lifetime, and it doesn't make a difference, what corporate situation you go to. That's usually part of the, what you call it. You see, even for Ice Cube with, his 3-on-3, it was getting so much pushback and so much, because it was cutting into, their whatever. And they always feel, like, oh, why would we allow you to have a spinoff of something that we control and that we get the lion's share of? You know what I mean?
So, I mean, you're right. You're 100% right. But we cannot overlook one thing. We cannot overlook the branding of LeBron James as a global player. You know what? We can't overlook that. And to me, I think that he thinks and his team thinks that his branding as the overall name, that's a name worldwide, could go over there and make just as much damage in there as if the NBA was going to go in there themselves. I think he thinks he can bring, a lot to the table. Like how Michael Jordan changed things in the 90s. I think he thinks, and he's right about this. Look, I don't think there's a person in Europe who doesn't know who LeBron James is. And I think he will piggyback off of the name and the branding of LeBron James to help be able to push this forward. And they have, again, it's about leverage when you do deals. They have leverage against the NBA because he could do it without the NBA. He could do the league by himself, but his plan is to do the league, from what I read, is to do the league and have the league have some kind of, a partnership with the NBA so they can eventually end up playing each other. You know what I mean? And that's ingenious. You know what I mean? Like, that's ingenious.
But Frank, I think that what Amir is saying, I mean, like, you got to read between the lines, like working entertainment.
He's right.
Like, for instance, the music industry is a vicious business.
Right.
And the people who are able to carve out their own lane, like a like a Master P, like like you got Rap-A-Lot Records down in Houston or whatever, they were able to carve out their own little niche and they were left alone to make their money, is because they had goons too. So if LeBron could get him some European goons,
you're right.
You know what I'm saying? Who moneyed up, and they willing, to give mutually assured destruction. If you start trying to cause problems, then they'll be able to do what they got to do in terms of the business side. Like all this corporate stuff or whatever, man. At the end of the day, when you get in, it's the same. It's the same as it's selling drugs on the street corner. It's goons, bro.
Yes.
It ain't no gentleman anything. They out here fighting for turf. And if you got goons backing you to keep their goons at bay, he'll be able to do something.
I think so too. I just wanted to throw it out there. Let's see what you guys thought about this, because the simple fact being, we can't overlook this. And I think everybody's overlooking a lot of this. So I just wanted to talk about that real fast. Let me talk about the next thing, man. And since we talk about LeBron, we got to talk about the Lakers defeating Houston Rockets again. Because, Jay, we talked about this. We talked about what was going to happen. We talked about Houston and everything else. Houston isn't able to do anything. I watched that game. I'm more disappointed than anybody could tell. And I'm not even a Houston Rockets fan because, Jay, you remember, I'm sure you remember, because I said the Houston Rockets months ago when the season started, I said if they could get it together, they could probably be one of the final two standing. I think they're going to probably be a first round playoff exit. That's the way I'm saying now, bro. So
it depends on who they play.
Sure. That's true. But they're going to get surprised, and they're getting slapped a lot, Jay. And people are showing you the blueprint on how to beat the Houston Rockets too. But Jay, what's your thoughts on the Lakers defeating Houston Rockets again?
3 words: Fred VanVleet. Right?
Yeah.
Because they don't have that point guard play, and the Lakers have a point guard who can give you buckets in bunches.
Mm-hmm.
right? And his biggest Achilles heel is that he can't guard. But here's the thing. You ain't got a point guard that can take advantage of him. So it's a bad matchup for you. Bron picks his spots now. It ain't that Bron, can't shoot out and get 30 a night. He could. But he's resting for the playoffs. He knows this don't really matter. Bron's saving himself for when the team really needs him, when you got to win 4 in advance. That's what he's saving himself for, right? So Bron's sitting back, and as long as Bron can sit back and go get 17, 18, take 6, 7 assists, 8, 9 rebounds, and Luka can go get 40, and Austin Reeves can go get you 20, 25 to 30. They're gonna be hard to beat. So Houston is in trouble, man, because they don't really have any legitimate scoring outside of KD.
Right.
And KD came to league, what was it, 2006? So I mean, it's like almost like 2008, I think it was. 2006.
Around that time, he's 37 now. So
he's 37,
yeah, exactly. You know what? Yeah, about 20 years in the 19 years, right?
Yes.
So you got all this heavy load on KD, and Bron got to do that with the Lakers because Luka doing that. Austin Reeves is doing that. And honestly, the difference in the game to me was KD ran out of gas, and the supporting cast didn't give him enough scoring support for him to be able, to stay sharp for the whole game. And I agree, Frank. I mean, depending upon who they get matched up with, it could be an early exit for them.
Yeah, it really could be. But now, let's flip the script real fast. The Lakers are now on a 7-game winning streak, man. They're playing much better defense. Even though what Jay said, they are known for not playing defense, but the last 4 or 5 games, they've been playing defense, and the way it's being listed as, they jumped like 15, 20 spots defensively and throughout the NBA. So we can't overlook the fact that the Lakers are finding a way. And people are also now, believe it or not, saying JJ Redick is putting together a coaching clinic. I ain't seen that yet. You know what I mean? I don't want to say I ain't seen it yet, but that's the word out there amongst the circles of the NBA. So, Amir, are we not looking at the focus of the Lakers too much, or are the Rockets that bad? What's your take, Amir?
I think it's a combination of both. I think the Lakers are better than we've imagined them to be, and I think Jake, hit the nail on the head. For so long, and nobody, we don't talk about this generally speaking, in pockets here and there. LeBron has had to be what KD is for the Rockets right now, which is everything. I got to carry the load. I got to play D. I got to, keep us up. I got to, make sure if we go down, I bring us back up. That's a lot to carry for any one player. You know what I mean?
Let alone 37-year-old.
And let alone for 37-year-old. And again, as I shared with y'all, when you look at the league as a whole, you're talking about cats who are in their early 20s in some cases and so forth and so on. And to have to run like that. The other thing, and this is, one of the things that I find funny, but KD is going on record saying it. He just likes to play ball.
Right.
I've never heard nobody say KD doesn't have a killer instinct and he's not a this and he's not a that. The man just goes out there and he knows how to put that ball in the basket, given the opportunity to do so.
Yep.
I would definitely say that.
The other members on that team, there are guys who act tough, meaning there's moments when, bumping our chests and doing certain things, but it's not consistent enough, nor do they have the basketball acumen seemingly at this time to live up to that. So what you're seeing is a moment where you might get a block or you get a steal, you go down, you get a dunk, and you're excited. You're still down 10, so I don't even know what the excitement is about. But
right.
To some degree, that's where the game is, unfortunately.
Right.
Meanwhile, to what you said about the Lakers, it's interesting how Luka has come into the Lakers and taken that LeBron role on of being the catalyst. The interesting thing about it is he's obviously much slower. He does it at a pace that we all can't figure out, like none of us can figure out. We all are trying to figure that out. His 30 a game is the slowest and the calmest 30 you ever want to see anywhere.
And you're surprised every time he gets 30. You're like, he got 30?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Austin Rivers, not herky-jerky, but you can see him growing into his role and understanding what that is. Hachimura, this dude is hit or miss or hot and cold, but he does know how to knock down the shots seemingly when he's, given the opportunity. The real key to them for me is the big man. If he could ever just be tough, for 40 minutes or whatever, then there's nothing to worry about with that team because they have the solidness. Then to what you just said about JJ Redick, I will say this. I was fortunate enough to be in Vegas when what's the gentleman who had the job before JJ Redick? Basketball player.
Black head coach.
I can't think of his name right now.
But Darvin Ham?
Darvin Ham. So I'm in Vegas. A friend of mine, we had this restaurant. A friend of mine knew him extremely well. So he introduces me, and this is literally when he got the head coaching job. So I said to him, "Hey, congratulations, man. I hope everything goes well." Darvin Ham did absolutely nothing with that team. Granted, he didn't have a whole lot of time. When you watch the game, you can see the X's and O's and thinking the game through. You don't see a lot of screaming and carrying on. He's an X and O's guy, meaning he thinks the game through. The coolest thing that he has is one of the savants of the game. LeBron hasn't had coaching like everybody else. He hasn't had a Pat Riley or any of those guys. He's thinking the game in real time.
He has Spoelstra though.
Huh?
He has Spoelstra.
No, he had Spoelstra, but even for Spoelstra, what was happening was LeBron was showing him and teaching him. Go listen to the teammates of LeBron, and all of them say, "Dog, we was in timeouts where LeBron was breaking stuff down, and we was like, wait, what? Yo, I'm telling you, he gonna hedge. If he hedge, Jay, you go this way, I'm gonna hit you every time." The coach wasn't calling out, LeBron was in real time. He just thinks the game differently and plays it from that perspective. So it's like having to the point of this conversation, a player coach, which is great, but it makes a difference. So I think that, like I said, it's a bit of both. And I think that the Rockets, again, they need a point guard because they need somebody who can bring cohesiveness to that unit.
Organized, man. I mean, oh man, they're missing the point guard in the worst way.
Yeah, they are. But let me get to
and
the
they're
next
young on top of that, so that doesn't help.
Let me get to this next story. I really wanted to get to it. I meant to get to it yesterday. I apologize for those who might notice today. We got to talk about the WNBA, man, that they were able to get their collective bargaining agreement and the way they were able to structure their agreement and everything else. For those of you who don't know, the average salary of a WNBA star player, they listed as 100,000 to 120,000. I looked it up. It was 75,000. You know what I mean?
I saw 66 was the lowest salary.
Yeah, right. I saw it, to make a long story short, let's just say this. It was under 100,000. But now the average salary player can get $500,000 as a WNBA player, which is great because when you're in the certain markets, Jay, you know about this too, because you live in the New York market area. It's a different kind of thing when you can afford to live there, especially as a player. So, Jay, you said a couple of times, this is what you want to talk about this, see if we get this conversation in real fast. What's your take on this new deal, and does it save the WNBA?
I don't know if it saves it, man. I mean, because they're really just starting to get viewership, so hopefully they can keep growing it. And it's a sustainable thing. But if they're smart, and the NBA is a very smart organization, they will be able to take all that energy that's in the women's college game. The women's college game is extremely popular. If they can figure out a way to just transfer that energy into WNBA and keep building and keep building and keep building, then yeah, I mean, it's going to be great for them, moving forward. But they had to pay them ladies, man, because you can't be playing for the New York Liberty and making $66,000 a year
and living in New York. Yeah,
you listen, man. That ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I just saw this just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Like Red Hook, for instance. Red Hook is not like the best neighborhood, bro. But the average rent in Red Hook is $5,000 a month for rent. The average house is $1.2 million, which means that your mortgage is going to be around $7,500 a month. You cannot live here on $66,000 a year
at all.
It's impossible.
No, sir. No, sir.
Now, like I said, if they didn't want to pay him enough money to live, like old Joe Madison used to say, the late great Joe Madison, he said, if you cannot afford to pay a livable wage, you cannot afford to be in business, because you can't expect your employees to bear the brunt of your business, right? So I was like, now, if you don't want to pay them the money to live, then you got to buy an apartment building with condos in it, and they get to live in there for free or subsidized or whatever you want to do. But you got to fix that problem, because they cannot be playing basketball at a deficit. Not even for free. That in New York City, in LA, in San Francisco, in places like that, they will be playing at a deficit.
Yes, 100%. Amir, you get the final word. We got 2 more minutes left.
First of all, that was a great idea, Jay. The buy a building and then allow. That's an absolutely phenomenal idea, and I hope this gets to somebody who can bring that to light. But again, it's great to see that they have this newfound money for those players. It was long overdue, and I hope that just like Jay said, they can find a way to sustain it. I think the best way to sustain any and all of this is you have to take the same way you have college and you pit or at least advertise, some of these players. You got to do the same thing with the WNBA. I've always said, for me, the problem with the NBA and the WNBA is this one person at a time, raises up to be whatever. Y'all should have multiple people who the league is excited about, who want to see on a regular basis, and who are invested in their growth and what they bring to the table night in and night out. Because if and when you do that, it's not just love, hate, because that's all we have now, which is the real reason why so much of this is, sustaining or dying. I either love this person or I hate him.
Right.
All we got is one person that we feel like that about, when the league has multiple teams and multiple people. So if they can figure out a way to kind of bring that together, I think, the WNBA is going to be just fine. And again, I'm glad that they really did give them this collective bargaining and raise, the amount of money that these ladies are making. So
raise the floor for them, man. I mean, that's hard, man.
Yeah.
Now, Frank, don't forget, it's entertainment.
Right.
So entertainment is fickle. And the NBA, like I heard this years ago, like when I was really young, they said one of the reasons why the NBA was not as popular as otherwise could have been was because they didn't think NBA players were attractive. There was a lot of Robert Parishes and Dennis Johnsons and Tyrone Hills, bro. You know what I'm saying? And and women didn't want to buy tickets to go see them Negroes. You know what I'm saying? And I think the WNBA has a similar issue. There's a lot of dude-looking chicks out there, and you need men to come to the game because women don't buy tickets like that. So it's shallow, but if you want to sell tickets to men, it got to be women that they want to smash.
It's true. That's very true, because it's entertainment. That's what we talk about. It's entertainment. Thank you guys for doing the show, man. I greatly appreciate it. I didn't even get through half the stories, which is incredible to me, because we had half the guests. You know what I mean? Right. We had half the guests, but we had such a great conversation. Tomorrow's show, we got to finish talking about some things in the NBA. We got to talk about some stuff that jumped off in the NFL, because Minnesota Vikings are in the news, the Eagles in the news, and of course the Miami Heat's in the news. We got some stuff to talk about, and of course we got to talk about the rest of this NCAA tournament that's happening tonight and sometime tomorrow. So by the time we tune in tomorrow, Friday afternoon at 5 p.m., we're going to have a great show with that again, too. We're going to also be begging Amir to see if he can join again tomorrow, too, because great conversation. Yes, thank you guys for watching the show. We greatly appreciate you. Amir, tell everybody out there how they can follow you.
A-Rock Sealy on Instagram, Amir Sealy on Facebook.
Thank you, Amir. And filmmaker Jason Hayes, tell everybody out there how they can follow you, bro.
Follow me at JD Hayes over at Fanbase, the Black Folks site.
And thank you all those people who are watching, because I couldn't believe the numbers of all the people who are watching today. I greatly appreciate you. And thank you all for sharing. We appreciate all that. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is, of course, Friday. We're hopefully going to have some comedians because we're supposed to have comedians. This is what the show's about: comics talking sports. We ain't had none today or tomorrow. We had one today. We had one
briefly.
We'll talk about that, all that stuff tomorrow. Name of the show's called Box Seats. I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Hey, what you need?